Alright, going somewhere different today. Going up to the north of the island, to a place called Baldwa Cliff, near Hempstead in Yarmouth. Great fossils, great archaeology, great fun. Let's head straight out there, see what we can find. Alright then, first port of call is to grab some lunch, and then we're going to the garden centre, because I learnt my lesson last time. This particular beach, you need to do a lot of kneeling and crawling along on your hands and feet. So I'm getting some knee pads. Padcock, let's go. Well, here we are, on our way to Baldwa. So Baldwa is a section of cliff, really. It's quite well known because a huge amount of archaeology comes out of there, all the way back to what would be generally referred to as prehistoric, all the way to modern day, basically. A lot of shipwrecks and stuff come out of there as well. Where we're particularly heading to, this is all private land, so it's public access, but no driving. So you have to park back there and walk about 2 miles in this direction, and that takes you up to the little tiny village of little hamlet rather of Hempstead, and then down on the beach from there. So it's quite a nice walk. Let's get going. All right, well, we're down here on the beach at Hempstead. There's Baldwa just starting behind us. You can see the sea behind me here, and what you can see is all of this kind of shingle lying around everywhere. Now it's this shingle which is our friend, because the sea has done all of the work for us. You can see the start of the cliff just there, and the sea has washed all the clay out, washed all of the fossils out of the clay, and then it's buried them in nice straight lines for us down here along the beach. So let's come down, have a look. Lots and lots of shingle all over the place, and you just have to get down on your hands and knees and slowly scan through everything until you happen to find something. So let's keep looking and see what we can get. Here we go. Now this is the kind of thing that we're looking for. Come see what we found down here. Can you spot it? It's coming up. There it is, just down here. It's a lovely little bit of bone. You can just kind of start to see the structure of that bone inside it. It's quite clear, but look at what it is. It's part of a turtle's carapace or shell. It's a bit of the bone which the keratin then goes on top. It's a tortoise shell or a turtle shell. Nice little fossil find there, and another one for the bag. All right, I've just spotted something. Scan down, scan down, scan down. Can you see it yet? There it is. Right there. You can probably start to see some of the bone structure on it. Let's pick it up and have a look. There's the bone structure, right, just underneath there. Turn it over and you've got, it's a bit of tortoise or turtle carapace. Carapace? Oh, that's a shell. So it's fossils like these that can start to give us clues as to what the climate was like when these cliffs were actually being buried. I mean, think about it. This is a turtle shell. Have a think about what that means about what the climate would be like here. Cracking new find here. Come see what I've got down here. An absolutely enormous and very, very beautiful crocodile tooth. Look at that. And just another bit of evidence about, hey, it was warmer in the past. There were crocodiles living here. Absolutely wonderful. One of the best that I've ever found, actually. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the fact that we're finding these types of fossils here, and what that really means in relation to the climate and climate change of today. So we are obviously in a warming period right now. There's no doubt about that. The climate is warming, things are certainly getting hotter, certainly a lot warmer since the last 200 years, say. But you've got to remember that 200 years ago, we were at the end of the Little Ice Age. 1814 was regarded as the end of the Little Ice Age, because that's the last time that there was a frost fair on the Thames, the last time that the Thames froze over. So it was definitely a lot colder 200 years ago, and it's warming up now. But let's go back even further, because before the Little Ice Age, a few hundred years back, you had the medieval warm period, a global occurrence where everything was much, much warmer. Okay, go back even further and you find that before the Vikings came here, there was another cold spell. So it had got cold, and then it had warmed up for the medieval warm period, it had got cold again for the Little Ice Age, and now it's warming back up. Go back even further and you find that during the Romans they were able to bring Mediterranean grapes over here and grow them as far north as the Scottish borders, something you certainly couldn't do today. So the climate had gone from warm to cold, warm to cold, and now it's warming up again. Go back even further and you get to the time when these beds here that you can see behind me at Hempstead were being laid down. We would call them post-flood. That means after Noah's flood, certainly a catastrophe, but this is something that's been caused by huge ice sheets coming down and pushing all of this sediment into place and causing large watery floods to wash down here. Okay, what fossils are we finding? Crocodiles, turtles, all manner of tropical creatures and subtropical creatures and plants. In other words, it was a lot warmer here in the past. In fact, it was a lot warmer than any modern or historical record of temperature and climate. The climate here was tropical when these beds were being laid down. And then what did I say that had actually formed these massive catastrophic beds? Ice Age. So the creatures were living here in a tropical environment when the ice suddenly came on from the north and caused huge amounts of slumping and local flooding to actually produce these beds. The climate went from warm to cold. It then warmed back up and cold and up and down and up and down. In fact, this is sounding a lot like what God told Noah the climate would be like at the end of the flood. It says that God told Noah at the end of the flood that for as long as the earth shall remain, there will be seed time, there will be harvest, there will be summer, there will be winter, there will be cold and heat. So if you want a biblical picture of climate change, you need to get a full picture of the history of the world in light of the Bible. And it goes back to that fact that the climate is a cycle. Cold to hot, cold to hot. And that's exactly the kind of evidence that we see at places here like Hempstead. Well, ships like the one that's just passing us now have to be really careful in these parts, because what this little patch of water is the Solent. That's the strait of water that goes between mainland UK and the Isle of Wight. And it is looking pretty calm at the moment, even though it's fairly windy, but you can have a lot of currents in there, you can have a lot of fast water, and as a result you can have a lot of shipwrecks. And all up and down here you can see the results of those shipwrecks, including things like broken and smashed bottles, medieval bottles, and bottles from the 1800s. You find huge, great big bits of sub-fossilized wood, which came from these shipwrecks, where the minerals have started working, and in a very short amount of time they've started to preserve the wood. You can see whole rudders and all sorts of stuff, as well as loads of shipwreck metal that gets washed up all up and down here. So it's a sort of a haven for archaeology as well. And even further back than that, just underneath Baldwa Cliff, they've actually excavated a whole Neolithic and even other types of settlements from all around there. Pottery and tools and all sorts of exciting stuff. So it's a great place to spend the time. It's got pretty cold now. It was sunny and warm earlier, but it's got a lot colder. So I'm starting to head back. So I've got 2 miles. It's the only downside to this is that you do have sort of a 4-mile walk, 2 miles down here, 2 miles back, on top of anything that you want to do fossil hunting. So that mixed with the tides, you can get cut off here very, very quickly and very, very easily. So we are just going to start to make our way back now, and don't want to risk getting too wet.